What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and what? More video game news? This can't possibly be. 4 video game videos in one day? I mean, what? I know I had been getting a little heavy on, the censorship topics and a variety of other big tech issues. I'm still covering those, obviously, but video game news is important too, and I know a lot of you subscribe for that almost exclusively. So hopefully you're appreciating the additional coverage. If you are, make sure you leave a like on this video. Make sure you click subscribe down below so you get notified each and every time I upload. I upload 3 to 7 times a day. Well, really just 5 to 7 or 8. Really, that's the number. So Marvel Avengers has completely failed. What's going to happen now to the existing player base? Well, expect to see even more predatory microtransactions as they try to get their money back. It looks like, according to the revenue, which we're going to take a look at, and player base, they lost millions, somewhere around $50 million lost. Square Enix has posted its latest financial results, and it doesn't look great for Marvel's Avengers. The Japanese company announces financial figures for the 6-month period to 30th September 2020. While revenues and profits were up versus the same week period in 2019, the quarter during which Marvel's Avengers released saw a £36 million loss. Well, get off this. Let's get on a United States website, maybe. Well, okay, we'll just stay here. The part of Square Enix's business we're concerned about here is called digital entertainment, HD games. The company did not say how many copies of Marvel Avengers sold or comment on its performance, but Crystal Dynamics' Troubled Adventure comes out poorly when we compare it to the first 2 quarters of the year. Now, I think it's really bizarre to me that this game didn't make money. I mean, yeah, it had a big budget, but the idea that they lost $50 million is quite shocking to me. Maybe it's because people like me just were never interested in it. When I saw like the games as a service subscription stuff, I was out. I was just out completely. It's like gamers just rejected that out of hand. If it was like a one-time play, maybe that was it. Also, the beta was mired with problems. They should have stopped after the beta. This says, it's hard to get a handle on exactly how badly Marvel Avengers missed its sales target by, but it's clear the game hasn't done the business for Square Enix. In a tweet, the Tokyo-based game analyst Dave Gibson said volumes were 60% of plan. Avengers had sold only 3 million copies. In early October, Crystal Dynamics said it was working on new updates for the game as fast as they safely could in a bid to reignite waning player interest. At the time, Steam charts suggested the game's PC audience had slumped to between 1,000 and 2,000 people a month after launch, low enough to trigger matchmaking issues. At the time of this article's publication, only 798 people were playing Marvel Avengers on Steam. Yikes. This is an absolute colossal failure. And honestly, something that's kind of getting more common with Square Enix. They've had a lot of stinkers in the last couple of years, and I am sure they were hoping this would be a billion-dollar franchise. They thought this was going to be Grand Theft Auto 5 Avengers Edition. They thought, and just like we're going to see with Cyberpunk 2077, they're looking at that being a billion-dollar franchise. And they probably just thought, hey, we're going to slap Avengers on this thing and these idiots will buy the game. But they didn't really take the time to make a compelling video game, I think. Yeah, it's cool to play as the Incredible Hulk, but if the story, of it and the gameplay aren't good, then people just bail. In mid-October, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics delayed the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X versions of the game until an unknown date next year. Until that point, you can play the game via backward compatibility, although, of course, this won't be possible with those copies of the game on disc who have bought a PlayStation 5 Digital Edition or an Xbox Series S. Quote, we made the decision to shift our PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X launch date till next year to ensure we're giving the team time to deliver a next-gen experience. It's a rosier picture elsewhere at Square Enix. We've already mentioned Final Fantasy VII Remake, which looks like it drove significant profit at the HD games business. In the company's MMO segment, Final Fantasy XIV saw a rise in operating income year on year due to growth in monthly paying subscribers. By the way, I love Final Fantasy XIV Online. Overall, the 6 months ending on the 30th of September, Square Enix saw revenue up 43 cents per share. $50 million loss. What could they have done better? Well, I think that, I don't know if it's you, but like, these games still don't make humans look real to me. Like, they just look like poor renders, and it's hard to get into that. And I don't know if that's a capability issue, if they would look better on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X or something like that, but it's insane. It's the second high-profile failure of a live service game in many years, following BioWare's Anthem in 2019. Square Enix HD Division Games is responsible for it, but look at this. When you're talking about, live service games failing, it's hard to not, how do you put this? You feel bad for the people that are genuinely enjoying the game, and I do. But boy, it's nice to see live service games fail, because they are these never-ending money pits that add bare minimum value, increase the grind, and are just greedy from Jump Street. They come out as unfinished. They take full price up front, like Anthem did, and deliver you games that are half done, or even less in Anthem's case. I mean, it is absolutely good news, I believe, that these things fail. You can look at what David Gibson said here. Square Enix reported a 6.5 billion yen loss for HD games driven by Marvel Avengers. Would not say how many sold, but volumes were 60% of plan. Implies the game cost over $100 million to make, but only sold 3 million copies or so. You slap Marvel on there, you release a game when half the world is in, lockdown, and you can't succeed. That is a shocking failure. Marvel Avengers, it looks like the total cost of the game is actually closer to $170 million to $190 million, given the only expenses 70% of costs in the quarter marketing costs. Why someone didn't stop post the multiplayer beta will remain a mystery. Square are adamant that they can make a recovery. Well, I mean, there's always the No Man's Sky saga to try and give people some hope, but ultimately the game, just wasn't that good. You could look at some of the comments. We'd be lying if there wasn't any schadenfreude from leaving this. It was a gross corporate mess of execs greedily chasing bad trends, which they chose to sacrifice at the conclusion of Deus Ex for. Hopefully the right lessons are learned from this, but not holding out hope, to be honest. Yeah, I can't deny I'm enjoying this too. This game was a completely soulless by committee cash grab of the MCU counterpart. It had none of the franchise-building guile, originality, or risk-taking visual appeal of, say, Sony's Spider-Man effort, which at least attempted to carve its own identity. They should have followed Insomniac's lead here. Deserved to fall flat, a real cowardly effort. It is just a brutal loss for, at the end of the day, just a bad game. I know that there will be people out there that will fight for it and say, that the game is good. But if you just look at it, Marvel Avengers has shed lots of players, but Crystal Dynamics is confident they'll return. New missions are due in the coming weeks and new heroes in the near future. Well, if you're going to be charging money for all of these issues, I just don't know. I don't know. Did Anthem recover? Not really. Does anybody even play Anthem anymore? Do people talk about Anthem? I'm sure there are some hardcore players. But the idea that you have, Steam at less than 1,000 players, people leaving, sticking to playing with bots. I'd happily play most of the Avengers Initiative portion of the game solo, but missions are a lot smoother if you're in a coordinated group. That's the other drawback. When you have a game that requires a team, it's much more difficult. The ridiculous pre-order bullocks, forced multiplayer and microtransactions are what people pay. Oh, they're talking about Deus Ex here. Looked boring, grindy, monetized, sold out. So much sponsorship, exclusive character to platform. That looked to be about how Square Enix as much money as make Square Enix as much money as possible, and nothing at all to do with being a good game. Had avoid like the plague written all over it. Except everyone except senior management of Square Enix could see it. And they still won't learn. Set a budget for a game you want to make and sell it as a price point people will pay, will earn a return that's acceptable without the need for monetization to step in and ruin it. They're not wrong. The problem is that the live service money is insane. You know, it's just huge, 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 huge money. This poster says, I hope Crystal Dynamics doesn't get the blame. They're a studio known for their single-player action-adventure games. From what I've heard, the single-player campaign Avengers is part that has been praised the most. That's true. It seems pretty obvious the decision to make it a games-as-a-service came from above. In a previous statements to investors, Square Enix made a point of saying that they want to expand their business focusing on games as a service. It feels like they're just trying to follow trends rather than focus on their strengths. And that's exactly how you fail. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.